Bring back Mike. Hello and welcome to the channel. We'll talk about all things card games and chill with friends. My name is Liam and today I want to show you my Polka deck profile. Now, if you are new to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you enjoy this video, please let me know by hitting that like button. Check out my other socials, links down in the description. And if you want to support the channel even further, please consider becoming a member and hitting that join button down below. But let's jump straight in. So for this week's deck profile, I want to share what I think is one of the best aggro decks in the game right now. Yes, we have Kanata. That is probably still the best aggro deck in the game right now. However, this one is a deck that a lot of people don't really think about too often and has a surprising good matchup in the current meta. For this deck list, I want to do a thank you to both Dario and Diz, who have both been playing this deck and showing me what their list looks like. And from what I know, actually, I think my list is currently identical to Diz's. Sorry. But without further ado, let's jump straight in. Starting off with our Oshi. Now, this is a bit of a different pick. Now, most decks with Polka, especially or pure red decks, tend to run Kiara. I actually think that the better build for this is to run the Oli Oshi. Now, the Oshi skill for this deck, we don't care about because it requires you to run ID Gen 2, which we are not in this deck. But the SP Oshi skill, the 2 Holo Power, lets you draw 4, ditch 2, and then bloom from Archive. So basically, the whole point of this deck is getting to your first Buzz Polkas as quickly as possible, literally by turn 2, and trying to maximize your damage as quickly as you can. And that's why I run Oli. Now, of course, you can run Kiara. Of course you can. The risk with Kiara in this deck, there is a non-red Holomem, which is susceptible to being pulled out by something like Soda that makes you my enemy, and ultimately meaning that your SP Oshi skill, when you are holding fire to make sure you take your life and get cheers, but then on your final life, you then can't actually use your SP Oshi skill without losing the game, which is kind of rough. But Oli is more than good for this deck, in my opinion. It really focuses on the aggro side of the Polka deck. So that is our Oshi for this deck. The cheer deck, we simply run 20 red cheers. I've got some nice red ones. But yes, 20 red cheers, pretty straightforward. Now let's jump into the main deck. Starting off with the clown herself, we run 10 copies of her unlimited debut. There are too many in my hand. We run 10 copies of her unlimited debut, 70 HP, a 20 damage art for 1 cheer. And the great thing about this card, it has got a 0 baton pass. You can baton pass and retreat this for free, which means you can do your turn 1 play, especially if you're going first, very, very differently. You basically make sure you've got multiple polkas on your stage. You then, when you do your cheer step for the turn 1, you don't attach it to your center, you attach it to your back row polka, and then basically during your turn 2, you do the free retreat pass back, and then you've got your polka with the cheer on it in your center position, which is kind of cool. So we run 10 copies of that. We then run 4 copies of the First Bloom Idol polka. So she has 110 HP, 1 baton pass. The bloom effect is you get to search your deck for a fan and add it to your hand. That is any fan. This card is really, really, really good. And it does 70 damage for 1 red cheer and 1 colorless cheer, where it must have a troop member or a Zine attached to it in order to use the art, which, let's be honest, getting a Zine on this, not difficult. You can literally just search one, easy peasy. And then 70 damage on a, basically what is a 2 cheer, basically a 1 cheer attack, is really, really good. So yes, very, very aggro, very, very strong. And of course we do run 4 copies of her. We then also of course run the star of the deck, 4 copies of the Buzz Polka, 240 HP, pretty good for a first Buzz. With the bloom effect, you may return 1 troop member from your archive back to your hand. So basically you find ways of going, cool, I'm going to discard this troop member from another effect. And they go, cool, I'll play this and get it back. So your discard is actually kind of free. Its art itself, for 1 red cheer, 1 colorless cheer, it does 50 plus, but it does an additional 20 damage for every fan on your stage. Now, people do refer to this deck as the 12 fan deck because you run 12 fans, and we'll come to that later. Realistically, this card doing 150 to 210 damage on turn 2, turn 3 is not difficult. It is surprisingly easy to make this work. This card is really, really cracked. And again, for a Buzz Holomem, it only has a baton pass of 1, which is kind of huge because it gets to a point where it's like, oh, I'm just going to put this extra red cheer onto it, and I can just attach it whenever I want, and it still be ready to go either straight into the Cola position to attack again, or just sit there for when you want to go into your Buzz Polka for another turn, especially towards the late game. Just to prevent your opponent from obviously downing the Buzz Holomem, which does mean you would take 2 life. And that is the risky part of this deck. You have to protect your polkas to a degree, because if they go down, you take 2 life, and that basically means that within 3 Holomem downs, you lose the game. You've got to be very, very careful. Moving on to our other Holomems, we run 3 copies of the Kiara debut unlimited. 90 HP, 20 plus, you can discard a card from your hand to do an additional 20 damage as well, so it's 40 damage potentially. And this is one of your discard outlets to get the troop member out of your hand so that you can just bring it back from your Buzz Polka. Very, very good. And we also run 3 copies of the Spot Pekora. 80 HP, Collab effect. When you collab with this Holomem, you may roll a die. If that die is even, you get to search your deck for a Buzz Holomem. This is one of the very few cards, especially right now, that lets you get your Buzz Holomem. It's a very, very good card. And basically up until set 4, set 5, you're probably still running this with this deck. Very, very good card in my opinion. So we do run 3 copies of it. And not only is it good for the fact of the Collab effect is really neat, so seeing this early is really nice. You also obviously have a fan that goes with Pekora, which means that you can basically maximize where you put your fans down on your stage. That's it for the Holomems. So we do run 13 debuts, 8 firsts, and 3 spots. So let's move in to our supports. Starting as always with our limited, we run 4 copies of Nautica, draw 3 cards. Again, it's a 4 of in basically every deck. It's a 4 of again. We also run 4 copies of Mikorone. Again, very, very good card. Best card from set 2 in my opinion. The fact you are running not just the Polka, but also the Kiara debut makes this very, very relevant. The important thing to notice though, is that you cannot search your Pekora because it is not a debut. So that is an important thing to watch out for when playing your opponents. And if they try to use something like a Mikorone or a normal PC and go, yeah, I'm going to grab my Pekora, you have to stop them and say, no, you cannot. That is not allowed. So we do run the 4 copies of the Mikorone to basically increase our chances of finding that Kiara as quickly as possible to be able to stack our fans on. We then run 2 copies of So That Makes You My Enemy. Again, being an aggro deck, sometimes you need to be able to, like, as an opponent, you would go, oh, okay, you're going to just, like, kill my things in the center. I will just set up in the back row whilst you just take 1, maybe 2 Holomem downs in the same time. Cool, that's fine. You just play this and go, yeah, no, that setup you're doing in the back row? Nah, come here, you're not setting up. This card is really, really good in this deck. Again, I would love to run 3 copies. You could drop a Mikorone for a 3rd copy. You genuinely could. But, I don't know, I prefer the draw power personally. And also be able to, again, potentially grab extra polkas when polkas eventually go down is just very good to have. Moving on to our unlimited supports. We run 4 copies of normal PC. Again, increasing our opportunities to find our polkas and our Kiaras. Very important card. And then we literally go straight into our fans. We run 4 copies of Troop Member. This can only be attached to an Amaru Polka. And you can attach as many of these fans to your Holomem per Holomem. So you can have 2 or 3 of this on a single polka if you really wanted to. You definitely don't want more than 2. But the Holomem that this fan is attached to, if that was to use an arts, this fan would also be regarded as a red cheer, which is really good. So it's kind of a pseudo cheer ramp. But the downside to that is that if the Holomem with this fan attached is going to take damage, it takes an additional 10 damage, and that is for every instance. You have to be careful about where you put your troop members. 9 times out of 10, what you ideally want to do is get your Buzz Polkas up into the center with 2 actual red cheers, and then put all your troop members on your other polkas. so that basically you've got the fans on the stage, but then your buzz polka in the center is not taking extra damage for no reason. That is the ideal situation. Moving on to our next fan, we run 4 copies of KFP, which is exactly why we run Chiara. A very, very good fan in my opinion. Again, can only be attached to Chiara. But then when this fan is attached from your hand to a Holomem, you may discard a card from your hand to draw 1 card. Again, this is another discard outlet where you can discard the troop member to then draw a new card and then play your buzz polka to just get the troop member back, basically making it so it's just a hard +1, which is really, really good. But yeah, it's kind of neat. That's why we run Chiara in this deck. And then we run 4 copies of Wild Rabbit Alliance. Again, another fan, can only be attached to Pekora. And then if this Holomem this fan is attached to would roll a die by an ability, you may archive the fan to re-roll that dice. Now, I would say 70 to 75% of the time, you will not use the effect of this fan. You are literally using it to get another fan on the stage and to boost your Pekora. But there are situations where you go, actually, I really need my buzz. I'm actually going to get rid of this to make sure I get my buzz. There are situations where that is needed, but that is very few and far between. But that is the deck. It's a really linear deck. There's very few moving pieces to it, and it's actually really, really good. Set 3 will see it upgrade a little bit because you can run other cards. So basically you can drop the Pekora and you can run, for example, a Flare engine, or you could also run a Miko engine to turn to other fans. So the deck does change quite significantly when you go into set 3, but as a set 2 deck, this deck is quite strong and is probably one of the best aggro decks in the format right now. But what do you think, and would you make any changes? Please let me know in the comments below. And again, with set 3 Elite Spark coming out very, very soon, I want to hear from you. What deck profiles would you like to see coming up after the release? Let me know in the comments below. But that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you are new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video, please let me know by hitting that like button. Check out my other socials, links down in the description. And if you want to support the channel even further, please consider becoming a member and clicking that join button down below. But apart from that, thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.